Hey everyone, welcome to the Week 14 prediction episode of the Danker Family Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Paul Jensen, and we are already there, everyone. Last week of the regular season, and boy, this is going to be crazy. Let me tell you, just going through all the playoff scenarios, have them written down here. It's insane. So brace yourself for quite a lot of explanations and a lot of oh, here's what needs to happen in order for this and that. So we'll get to that near the end, but first we will go straight to the predictions of this week. Looking at the first matchup, it's myself versus Carrie. Carrie is technically not in the playoffs as of yet, because of her loss to Adrian last week, so she really needs to win this one. And she's playing me, and it's our second time. And as you can see in the previous matchup, Carrie beat me by less than a hundredth of a point. So yeah, it was pretty insane. Or not a hundredth, I'm sorry, less than a tenth of a point. Getting my decimals mixed up. Anyway, but yeah, looking at the box score and going over the predictions now, as I turn my notes here. For quarterback, it's probably going to be Carey. Dak Prescott's been playing really well of late, and he's an MVP candidate right now. So I would not be shocked if Dak Prescott goes off against Philly. He does a lot better at home than he does on the road now. He had a tough game against Philly a few weeks back when it was Dallas at Philly, but he seems to be more reliable these days than Tua. Tua plays well from time to time, but he's just not as reliable because he turns the ball over just a bit more. And the Dolphins kind of do have a good run game where I guess Cowboys are, I mean, Tony Pollard does too, but uh Dak though he's been super reliable the last couple of weeks, very consistent. So I'm gonna go with the more sure thing there. Running backs, I am gonna go myself. Tony Pollard's been playing great last couple of weeks, and I think he continues that success. And Zach Moss, I know he had a down week last week. He's playing a tough Titans defense. I think he goes off this week against Cincinnati. Cincinnati's run defense has not looked great in the past couple of weeks, giving up a lot of points to Najee Harris, Jalen Warren, and ETN of Jacksonville. So I think my running backs will do better. Jahmyr Gibbs, I like his matchup against Chicago, so he should do well. But Breece Hall, not sure how he's going to be. He is questionable with an injury, and Houston's run defense was pretty good last week against Denver. So I think they might be able to hold him. Plus, it's kind of been more and more focused on as long as you can stop the Jets' run game, then teams will be fine against the Jets because they don't have any good quarterbacks. So yeah, Breece Hall, I think, doesn't really go off this week, so I'm going to give my running backs the edge here. At wide receiver, though, although it shows my receivers both having the check marks, I'm actually going to go Carey's receivers. I'm on Ross St. Brown, went off against Chicago in their first matchup, and I think he still does. He's easily one of the best receivers in fantasy football this year. I definitely like him. Keenan Allen, the Chargers offense have been struggling lately. Broncos defense, it hasn't been that great, but um, he will be going up against Sertan for sure, and he's a lockdown corner, so that worries me about Keenan Allen. So I don't like his unique matchup there. And then Puka Nacua, he did hurt his shoulder, I think, or was his ribs? It was either ribs or shoulder. I think maybe ribs, but he got hurt against that game last week against Cleveland, so he's questionable going up against a really tough Ravens defense. So I'm not sure how he's going to do. Meanwhile, Rashee Rice had a great game last week against Green Bay, and I think he continues his success this week against Buffalo. Buffalo's pass defense has not looked good. Now they did just come off a bye week, so maybe that's much needed rest for them, much needed more preparation for them. But I think Rashee Rice will go off this week and have a good game. So I like Carey's receivers more. At tight end, I am going to go mine just because right now Carey doesn't have a tight end. I mean, she has Logan Thomas who's on a bye, so Carey's going to need to make a change there quickly. Because yeah, Dalton Kincaid is playing, and right now Logan Thomas isn't, so she's most likely going to be picking up someone. But even with that being said, Kincaid has been really reliable, solid tight end in the back half of the season. So I'm going to stick with that for myself. And then flex, I'm also going to go with Derrick Henry. If he plays, I'll go with Derrick Henry. If he doesn't play, then it's going to be tough. Carey has Deontay Johnson against the Patriots. Patriots defense has not been the problem. They've actually been one of the better defenses in the last 4 weeks of the season. Their offense can't help them out at all. They're losing games like 10-7, 10-6, 6-0. The Patriots defense has not been the problem. So and I think they've been doing pretty well. They did pretty well last week against Keenan Allen. So I'm not liking that matchup for Deontay Johnson. Derrick Henry, if he plays, yeah, he's coming off of the concussion protocol. We'll see if he goes. I hope he do. I hope he goes. But if he does go, I will give him the benefit of the doubt there. I think he'll get more than Deontay will get against Patriots defense tonight. Um, for defense, also going to go with myself. I like the 49ers defense lately. They've been just tremendous. They held the Eagles to 19 points. They played tremendously the last couple of weeks against the Jaguars and the Seahawks before. So I think the 49ers are the hottest team in football right now, and their defense has really been on point. So I'm going to go with them over Colts. Colts are playing a Bengals team who surprisingly did well last week against Jacksonville with Jake Browning as the quarterback. So who knows? Maybe he's got some edge. The Colts, I mean, they came off of some really huge special teams plays last week that really helped them out. So that could be the case as well. But for right now, just projecting how it looks, 49ers at home versus Colts on the road. Yeah, I'm going to go with 49ers here. So with that all being said, I am going to predict that I spoil Carrie's playoff hopes and that I beat her. Now it's obviously nothing set in stone. I'm under 500 on making predictions, so it's actually more likely that Carrie does win this matchup just because I predicted myself. But I'm gonna stick with my picks and say that I barely edge out Carrie in this matchup. As far as other options for Carrie, obviously she's gonna need to pick up a new tight end. Also consider starting either DJ or not DJ, or actually yes, either starting DJ Moore or James Cook at flex instead of Deontay Johnson. I really don't like that matchup for Deontay. And this isn't just me because I'm playing Carrie, right? Why should I be, why should she listen to me? But no, like if I like seriously, if I were Carrie, don't play Deontay. I have everything to gain from you playing Deontay Johnson, and I'm telling you, don't play him. So DJ Moore's he did pretty well against Detroit a few weeks back, right before Thanksgiving. I think he had 22 points against them, and he's been easily the Bears' best receiver this year, and he's probably their only receiver, really, if you really think about it. And then James Cook, he has had 3 straight weeks heading into the bye week, so I think he's a solid running back. I know the Chiefs' defense has been playing well lately too. So that could be a reason why you're sitting him. And also Chuba Hubbard, might maybe give him a chance too, because he's actually been playing pretty well the last couple of weeks. So you have 3 solid options in Hubbard, Cook, and Moore you could put in at flex over that I like way better than Deontay Johnson. And then for myself, it's tough. I think I'm playing it as perfectly as I possibly can. Although if Derrick Henry can't go, maybe I can go with Jerome Ford or Adam Thielen or Christian Watson if he's healthy. Right now he's predicted 0, so we'll see if how his health status is like. It sucks to have Tank Dell out for the season. Otherwise, I'd be playing him, no doubt. Um, but yeah, that's just how it goes right now. So that's my prediction for our matchup, Carrie. Next matchup is Adrian versus Joan. Another one. This is definitely huge, right? Because right as it stands right now, Adrian's the 2 seed and Jones the 3 seed. So it's possible these two just face each other again next week if all else fails, but um, which is very unlikely. But um, Joan did beat Adrian back in week 1, carried by 40 Cowboys defense that scored 40 points. So probably not going to happen this week, but I will say that I do like Jones' chances this week in beating Adrian, and here's why. Jones got the better quarterback, in my opinion. Now Jordan Love has been playing well, and it's been great. Giants defense is a lot better than people think, so I think Jordan Love will have a little bit of a down game, but he won't. He's still gonna have a decent game. Don't get me wrong, and I'm guessing they'll beat the Giants. I'm hoping they beat the Giants, especially how bad they've been playing offensively, but their defense is actually pretty solid, so I think they'll contain the Packers offense just a little bit. Whereas Josh Allen has been one of, if not the best fantasy quarterbacks this year. Even when the Bills are losing, Josh Allen still knows somehow puts up 30 points a game. So, yeah, Mom's easily got the better quarterback. Running backs, this one was tough because Eckler has been struggling lately. Last 3 weeks has been pretty bad. Raheem Mostert coming off that injury. Who knows if he's going to do well? Achan's back and healthy, so who knows what the dynamic's going to be looking like between those two. But with that being said, I'm still going to go with Eckler and Mostert over Swift and Gus Edwards. Gus Edwards coming off a bye. Now he might do well against the Rams defense. The Browns running backs did pretty well against LA last week. And DeAndre Swift didn't do much. He is playing Dallas, and he didn't do that well against Dallas the last time they played. So I'm just going to throw this one up to chance and say Eckler has a bounce back game against the Broncos running defense that hasn't been playing well overall this season. And Mostert gets they evenly split Mostert plays, they evenly split time with Achane, and he gets at least one touchdown. I think that helps. So I'm going to give the edge to Mom at running back. At wide receiver, though, it's easily Adrian. I mean, CeeDee Lamb's been incredible this year, and I think he's the most reliable receiver so far this in fantasy. Stephon Diggs, he had a few bad games before, and then he had a good game against Philly before the bye week. So uh, I think Stephon Diggs comes off the bye, comes off strong, and especially with Mom's two receivers being Garrett Wilson and Josh Downs, yeah, that's an easy pick right there. At tight end though, that one will go to Joan. She's got Jake Ferguson playing really well lately. Tampa Kyle Pitts, he's just been very disappointing so far in his career. Most of his games this year have been single digits. He's only had a few double-digit games, so I'm going with the more reliable pick in Jake Ferguson. At flex, probably going to go Adrian. DeAndre Hopkins has been playing. He's not been consistent, but he has more upside than Alexander Madison does at this point. I mean, Madison's had a few good games and he's been very, his floor is very mid. So, um, even though they're on the road and the Titans do play a lot worse on the road, I still think Hopkins has a better performance than Alexander Madison at this point. And then defense, special teams, I'm gonna go with Mom's Vikings defense over Adrian's Bucks defense. Um, but yeah, I mean Vegas, all they have to do is contain Adams, in my opinion, and then also stop the run game too, with Josh Jacobs, which Minnesota's defense has actually been playing pretty well. They're just getting unfortunate with some of these tough luck losses, like that loss to Chicago and the loss to Denver. Their defense played really well those two games. It's just it came down to one possession, right? So I like the Vikings defense just a little bit more in this one. Bucks. They gave up a lot of points to the Carolina Panthers last week, and that was at home, and they struggled against the Falcons earlier in the season too. So I think that whether I know that Adrian just picked him up because he kind of needed a different defense, but there were no good defenses out there for him to pick up. So I like Mom's defense. So with that all being said, I like Mom's quarterbacks, running backs, her tight end, and defense. Give me Joan to win this game and to take over the second seed in the playoffs. So yeah, if Joan wins, she's the two seed, and Adrian would be the three seed because right now Adrian's the two seed, Joan's the three seed, and if Joan beats Adrian, then Joan will beat Adrian two times, so she'd have the head-to-head advantage over him. So give me that. As far as other options go for Adrian, yeah, I mean, there's not really much else he could do. Maybe start Drake London instead of DeAndre Hopkins at flex. I mean, I know he's not projected to do well. Drake London plays pretty well at home this season. Yeah, I don't know why. It's a weird kind of dynamic. So he does a lot better when he's at home than he does on the road. So, and playing against a lackluster Bucks defense, pass defense that is. Um, who knows? I think there's a good chance Drake London goes off, but we'll see. And it does, yeah. And his quarterback's on a bye, so he had to pick up Jordan Love, which is crazy that Jordan Love was still available. So, um, but yeah, for Joan, I think she's also playing it as perfectly as she possibly can. I mean, maybe one or two things different. She could go with Romeo Dobbs instead of Alexander Madison at flex, or Romeo Dobbs over Josh Downs at wide receiver two. Josh Downs has not done anything significantly the last 4 weeks of the season. Romeo Dobbs could have a big game, especially if Christian Watson's out. So I think that would be huge for, potential more target share for Romeo Dobbs on Monday night. So I think he would be a safer play than either Downs or Madison, but that's just one man's opinion. So yeah. Going on to game three, Ben Danker versus Tom. This is not a big game for Tom, as Tom's already clinched the number one seed. This is a huge game for Ben. Ben's going to need to win, and then he's going to need help additionally. So, and plus Ben, once upon a time was 6-2 and was second place in the entire league, and now it's not looking good. It's desperation time for Ben. So, how's it going to play out? For quarterback, I'm actually going to go with Ben's quarterback, Justin Fields. Fields was playing pretty well. I mean, minus that game against the Vikings, that was pretty god awful. But other than that, he had been playing well up until that point. And against the Lions, the first go around, he played really well and gave the Bears a pretty decent sized lead up until the Lions came back. And even then, like he still had 20 something points in that game. Patrick Mahomes, he's been a little off his game lately. Now he might have a bounce back game against Buffalo, and Buffalo's pass defense has been pretty bad. But there's something telling me that Justin Fields at home against Detroit, he's going to run the ball a lot. I think he's going to have a decent game throwing. Something in my gut is telling me just this might be one of those days where Bears fans are like, "Oh, where's this Justin Fields been all season?" I don't know, just a weird feeling for me, but I have a feeling Justin Fields will just have a slightly better day than Mahomes. Plus, Mahomes has to rely on some younger receivers and some, an offense that has been struggling of late. So I like coming off the bye for Justin Fields. For running backs, I'm also going to go Ben. Christian McCaffrey and Travis Etienne are a great duo. Now, Etienne is questionable and he is playing against a tough Browns run defense. However, um, just Christian McCaffrey alone, just having him alone, really helps Ben's case here because he's been a monster and he did well against Seattle the first go out. He'll do well again. So he really only needs ETN ETN could even hit under his projection. Honestly, ETN could get just 10 points, and as long as McCaffrey does his thing, I think Ben's running backs do well. Josh Jacobs coming off a bye against the Vikings run defense. The Vikings run defense has been playing very well their last couple games against Denver and Chicago. So I think they can contain him pretty well. Now, David Montgomery is going to have a good game. Now, he is going to be splitting time with Jahmyr Gibbs, so that hurts Tom's running back a little bit. So that's why I'm giving the edge mainly to McCaffrey and Etienne, both easy, solid number one backs, where as Jacobs is a number one back, but he's facing a really tough run defense lately. And David Montgomery has a good matchup against a weak Bears run defense, just splitting time with another guy in Jahmyr Gibbs. Um, Wide receiver, I'm going to go Tom. Tyreek Hill, easily the best receiver in fantasy. That beats out AJ Brown in my opinion. And then Tom's also playing Brandon Ayuk over Calvin Ridley. Now he could go with Justin Jefferson because Jefferson's coming off injured reserve. I don't know how it's going to look with him catching balls from Josh Dobbs uh, instead of Kirk Cousins. So we'll see how that works out. But I'm guessing Tom might play Justin Jefferson either at wide receiver two or flex instead. But if it is like this, I'm still going to go with Tom's receivers just because Tyreek Hill and Brandon Ayuk have both been playing really well. And Calvin Ridley, he's been a roller coaster. You just never know what you're going to get from him. And the Browns have one of the best pass defenses in all of football. So I don't like that matchup for him as well. So give me Tom's receivers. Tight end, also going to go Tom. TJ Hawkinson coming off the bye. He's been one of the best, most reliable tight ends in fantasy. David Njoku is a crapshoot. You never know what you're going to get from him. That's an easy one right there. TJ Hawkinson, give me him all day. Flex, also going with Tom and Devontae Smith. He's been playing out of his mind lately. And he had a stretch in the early season where he wasn't looking good. And I was saying that, but he's been playing a lot better last month and a half of the season. So yeah, and Chris Godwin just isn't doing it for me. He's not. So give me Devontae Smith all day. And then defenses, yeah, these two teams are playing each other, Jacksonville and Cleveland. And with both having backup quarterbacks in now, especially we don't know if Trevor Lawrence, it sounds like Trevor Lawrence isn't going to play, so I'm going to assume that he's not playing. Give me the Browns defense at home against backup quarterback over the Jags defense on the road against Joe Flacco, who's a veteran quarterback who's been playing for a while and it didn't look too bad against the Rams. So he did have a few mistakes, but being at home, yeah, I just like the Browns defense a little bit more in that one. So with that all being said, give me Tom a slight win here. I know the projections say Ben wins, but I don't think so. I think Tom barely edges it out. I think Tyreek Hill, TJ Hawkinson, and Devontae Smith really put him over the edge this week. So give me a Tom in that matchup. Now, other options, I think Ben could easily go with Jacoby Myers at flex instead of Chris Godwin. Myers seems to be a more reliable pass catcher in that Vikings in that Vegas offense. Got to battle the V's there, Vikings Vegas. And then also maybe AJ Dillon maybe AJ Dillon too if Aaron Jones can't play, maybe you think about starting him at flex. I mean, he's not really a guy that will have a high ceiling, but his floor is pretty big. So his floor is about like 9 to 10 points. For Tom, he's playing it almost as perfectly as possible. I mean, my only thing is, what do you do about Justin Jefferson, right? Do you start him? Do you just keep him on your bench, just wait and see how he does with Dobbs at quarterback instead of Kirk? Which could be a smart play, but especially, and you have nothing to lose. So, right, I mean, might as well play him, might as well sit him. It doesn't matter. But um, yeah, it's going to be interesting how he handles Justin Jefferson moving forward into the playoffs. So, interested to see how that plays out. Going on to matchup number 4, Nels versus John. John beat Nels pretty badly in week 4, and this is a huge game for both of them, right? Right now, John is the 4 seed, so either John needs to either win or he needs everyone else below him to lose, and that would be a lot tougher to hope for everyone to lose than for you to win. So, and Nels, he's got the absolutely toughest road to the playoffs ever, and I'll get to that near the end of the video. But yeah, he's Nelson needs to win, and he needs a lot of help, to say the least. So looking at the matchup here at quarterback, I'm gonna give it to Nels. Lamar Jackson at home against the Rams, coming off a bye week. I think he plays pretty well. Herbert, he's been struggling lately the last 2 games. Now I know he's going to be at home against Broncos pass defense. They actually played well against CJ Stroud, so I'm going to give their defense a little bit more credit than we think. Their run defense is not that good, but their pass defense has been playing a lot better. So I'm going to give Lamar the edge here, QB. Running backs though is going to be John for sure. Bijan Robinson, he didn't play much in that first game against Tampa, but that's probably because he was sick or something. There was that weird game where he only got like 0.3 points, but he should be playing moving forward, and he's been playing pretty well lately. And Alvin Kamara has easily been one of the best, most reliable running backs in fantasy. So I like this tandem a lot more than Javonte Williams and Saquon Barkley. Barkley might do well. Packers defense has been playing a lot better, but I don't know. Either way, like him paired with Javonte, the Chargers run defense has been a lot better than lately too. So give me John's running backs here. Receivers, I will go Nelson's receivers. Um, Chris Olave's been hurt and hasn't he's been playing well, but he's been hurt the last couple of weeks, so who knows what his health's going to look like. Um, but I still like him overall. Jalen Waddle, he's the backup to Tyreek, so he's very limited in terms of his targets for him, but when he does go off, so he definitely has that potential, especially against Tennessee on a Monday night. But Michael Pittman's been super consistent, very high floor. Really like this matchup against the Bengals pass defense. So give me Michael Pittman all day and Devontae Adams coming off the bye. Now I know I had him and I traded him to Dad, but I think he'll have a decent game against the Vikings. So give me Nelson's receivers. Tight end's gonna go John, Travis Kelce. So this is interesting because Nels had Travis Kelce and Chris Olave, and he traded them away to John for Taysom for not Taysom for like who do you get? Saquon Barkley and Cooper Kupp. And Cooper Kupp is on his bench right now. So this will be interesting. So whoever loses this game is gonna might regret that trade. We'll see. I know Dad's already regretting making the trades he made with me and Tom and or John. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, Travis Kelce over Taysom Hill for sure at tight end. At flex, this one was a little difficult because Achan played well last week and Raheem Mostert's hurt, so it's possible Achan's the lead back. Deebo Samuel's been playing insane the last couple of weeks, so it's really hard to pick one or the other. I think in the end I'm gonna go with Achan just because um, he's such a good running. I can't even speak right now. He's so good out of the backfield. Him and Samuel are very similar, other than the fact that they're not the same position, right? Samuel's technically a receiver, Achan's technically a running back, but they're both used as like the pass catching running back, and they're both pretty doing pretty dang well this season. Achan's been just slightly been a little more reliable than Samuel when healthy, of course. Um, yeah, plus Tennessee's pass defense has been pretty rough. So yeah, give me Achan on this one. Defense, another good matchup here. Both going up against the New York teams. Packers going up against the Giants. Texans going up against the Jets. I'm always going to take whoever's playing the Jets just because the Jets have to have either them or the Patriots. So they're the 2 worst offenses in football by a long shot. So with the Giants, they at least have Saquon that could go off and make things a little bit difficult for the Packers. And, from time to time, Tommy DeVito will have a moment, right? Whereas the Jets, they're just god awful. Like they're just horrible. So I'm gonna take John's defense. So that all being said, I think John wins this game. It's gonna be close, but John gets the win and secures a playoff spot for himself and makes Dad regret making those trades big time. But other option, I mean, there really isn't another option. I think both of you guys are playing it as perfectly as possible. I mean, maybe Dad could go with Najee Harris at running back over Javonte Williams, but I think that I really think you're playing it as perfect as possible. And then for John, another one, like I don't think you're any other play here would make sense. I mean, Tyler Lockett's not going to be better than any of the three guys you have at receiver and flex. Same thing goes with Gabe Davis. So you could go CJ Stroud over Justin Herbert, but the Jets defense, you got to respect them a little bit, especially with them going on the road to play the Jets. CJ Stroud didn't play that well last week against the Broncos, but still pulled out a win. I think Herbert will have a bounce back game though against Denver. So yeah, you guys are both playing it perfectly. So if that if it works out, then I think John wins. So Dad's just gonna have to hope for some bad luck on John's end. And then finally, last matchup, two teams who are both eliminated from the playoffs playing against each other. You could say battle for the number one pick. Is this a tank bowl? Are we gonna have both these teams trying to shoe it in for the good draft pick, or are they gonna respect the process and try to win the last game for pride? So it's very possible. I mean, Carroll's already on a nice win streak so far. So and Garrett just won a game last week against Nels. So both of them trying to just finish the season strong, the regular season strong. They still got more games after for the consolation bracket. So still got the wild chance to finish best of the losers, and not just the two of you. I mean, I'm a loser too, and then whoever else misses the playoffs is also a quote unquote. And I don't mean this in an offensive way. I'm just, in terms of fantasy loser. Um, Looking at the matchups, Jalen Hurts they're better than Jared Goff easily. Give me that one. Carroll's running backs also better. Rashad White and Joe Mixon both had great games last week. They continue to will. Kyron Williams is great, but Miles Sanders is not. So Carroll's got two really good running backs versus Garrett's one. Receivers, I'm also going to go with Carroll. Jamar Chase had a great game with Jake Browning last week, and maybe something clicked for them, and they can make a playoff push in Cincinnati. Who knows? Nico Collins being a solid number one receiver now that Tank Dell's out. Even though he's playing up against a tough Jets defense, I still want like him and Jamar. DK had a great game last week, although and that was really strange because the Cowboys' pass defense has been playing well before up until then. But going up against San Francisco, I think he comes back down to earth. Mike Evans, he'll probably have a good game, but I don't think it makes up for the fact that both Jamar Chase and Nico Collins are both going to have good games in their matchups. At tight end, this one says George Kittle, but I'm going to go with Sam Laporta. He's got a little bit of a better matchup against the Bears defense, so I like that one. At flex, Pacheco over Sutton. If Pacheco doesn't play, then probably Cortland Sutton for Garrett, but as of right now, I'm going to go with Pacheco. And then for defense, yeah, this one was pretty easy. Steelers defense going up against the worst offense in football and the Patriots. So, yeah, give me that one all day, especially since they're at home too. Rams are going to have trouble in Baltimore on the road against a solid rushing attack by Baltimore. So yeah, that's just how I think it's going to go. I think Carroll wins this one. For Carroll, maybe consider Zay Flowers at flex if Pacheco can't go. And then for Garrett, if Aaron Jones is healthy, definitely start him over Miles Sanders. Although that one is a little tricky because Aaron Jones plays, or the Packers play Monday night and the Panthers play on Sunday. So if it's very up in the air, if Aaron Jones can play on Monday night, then yeah, you might have to go with Miles Sanders. But if they announce Aaron Jones is healthy enough to play before the Sunday games start, I would say go with Aaron Jones over Miles Sanders. So gonna be tough, but we'll see how it goes out. So those were my predictions for the final week of the regular season. Just one last look at the standings before the end of the regular season. As you can see, we've got Tom, Joan, and John, the top three in the West, with Adrian, Carey, Ben, and Nels in contention for the East. If you look at the playoff bracket, if things were to start today, it would be Tom at the 1, Adrian at 2, Joan at 3, John at 4, and everyone else would be in the consolation ladder. Now, playoff scenarios. Here we go. Tom, you've already clinched the 1 seed. You're good. Nothing changes. So he's all set. Adrian, you're currently the number 2 seed. So all you need to do is win. Win and you're in. That's it. Because right now you have the second most wins at 8. So if all you have to do is win, you beat Joan, you're in the playoffs. Now, can also get in with a loss. You can get in with a loss if both John and Carrie also lose. So you need to either win yourself, or if you happen to lose to Joan, you need John and Carrie to both lose. And John is playing Nels, Carrie is playing me. So therefore, Adrian, you are cheering for myself, Paul, and Nels. So there you go. And that's just the start, everyone. Um, Joan, you are currently the 3 seed. Right now, if you win, you're in. That's all you need to do. Beat Adrian, and you're in the playoffs, guaranteed. And if you beat, especially if you beat Adrian, you would move up to the 2 seed. So you would have the number 2 overall seed if you win. Um, or you could get into the playoffs with losses by Carrie and Ben. So Carrie needs, or sorry, Joan needs Carrie. If Joan loses, that is, she would need Carrie and Ben to both lose. Um, so she's cheering for myself and Uncle Tom. So Mom, you're cheering for your little boy, and you're cheering for your big brother. Uh, John, you are currently in the 4 seed. So for you, you win, you're in. That's simple as that. You can also get in if you lose, if you happen to lose to Nels, you can get in with losses from Carrie and Ben. Yep. John, you can get in if Carrie and Ben both lose. So John, you are cheering for myself and Tom, just like Joan. So Joan and John, you guys were enemies last week. You were playing each other. You're both cheering for myself and Uncle Tom because in the case that either of you lose, you need us to help you get into the playoffs. So next one out is the 5 seed. Carrie, you're currently the 5 seed. You need to win, and you need losses by Joan, John, or Ben. So you need one of them to lose. So Carrie, you would need to win, and you're also cheering for Adrian, for Nels, and for Tom. So that's how it goes for you. You need to win. Carrie needs to win. Everyone else moving forward needs to win. Carrie, you need to beat me and need losses from Joan, John, and Ben. Ben, you are currently the 6th seed. Ben, you need to win and you need losses from Carrie, John, and Joan. Yeah. So Ben's gonna need to cheer for myself to beat Carrie. He's gonna need Adrian to beat Joan, and he's gonna need Nels to beat John. That's how Ben gets in. Now, Nels, yours is very tricky. Like very, very tricky. I had to do a lot of mental math for this one. So hear me out. Nels, you need to win, and you need losses by Carrie, Joan, and Ben. You're cheering for myself, Adrian, and Tom. So not only do you need, and they all need to lose. So by the way, I should have probably gone back a little bit. Carrie and Ben only need 2 of the people I mentioned to lose. Nelson, you need all 3. So, so yeah, let me go back for a second because I think I'm confusing you guys just as much as I'm confusing myself. Carrie, you actually need losses from 2, or no, 1 of the 3. You need losses from 1 of Joan, John, and Ben. So I should have said that. So that's my fault. Carrie, you only need a loss from 1 of Joan, John, and Ben if you win as well. Ben, you need to win, and you need losses from 2 of Carrie, Joan, and John. So you need 2 of those 3 to lose. So that's my bad um for not mentioning that part. So my mistake. Ben needs 2 of Carrie, Joan, and John to lose. Nels, you need all 3. You need Carrie to lose, you need Joan to lose, and you need Ben to lose. So Nels cheering for myself, for Adrian, and Uncle Tom. All right. I hope I did a good job of explaining that because I'm still confused. I'm still confusing myself from time to time just thinking about the scenarios in my head. But basically, it's very simple for the last week for Mom, for Adrian, and for John. You all just need to win, period. And if you don't win, then it's okay because you'll need losses from a few people. And then for Carrie, Ben, and Nels, you all need to win and then some. And for Carrie, it's less she needs to win and only one person lose. Ben needs to win, only two people lose. Nels needs to win, and three people have to lose. So yeah, that's the scenario. So uh, glad you're able to listen in on that whole debacle right there. I was getting a little confused with myself too, um, but I appreciate you hanging in there with me. So um, yeah, I hope you all have a great weekend. It's gonna be crazy coming down to the wire this last week of the regular season just to see who gets into the playoffs. And then we'll get into all the scenarios for not the scenarios. We'll get into the matchups for the playoffs, the consolation side, the championship side too. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be exciting. So looking forward to seeing how everything turns out and ending the regular season. Boy, it's been too quick. So thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. Have a great weekend. And this has been the DFFFP, Paul Jensen signing off. Thank you.